Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our weekly watch party Wednesday. I'm Lee Gordon, coming to you live from Chicago, home of Brunswick, where we are thrilled to welcome our incredible Freedom Boat Club owners and members from all over the world. And tonight, we are pleased to present Freedom Boat Club's very own VP of Fleet Franchise Development, Barry Slade, for an exclusive Freedom Fleet Spotlight special. And I've got my shirt twin. Barry, how are you, sir?
Doing great. I'm glad I got the memo on the shirt, but yeah, good to see you this afternoon, Lee.
You too, Barry. So let's get right into it. You know, Freedom Tunes, Spotify playlist. I love listening to music while I'm out on the water. I know you love listening to music while you're out on the water. So now that we have this new Spotify playlist, what is your number one song when you get out on the water?
Well, you know, it's I like all kinds of musics, but I'd have to say my interests are really steeped heavily in the '80s and rock and roll. And for a day on the water, I think we really nailed it with the Rock the Boat playlist. I really like that one. There's a lot of great tunes on there, but since I'm an Alabama guy, I got to go with Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. That always seems to get everybody going.
See, that's good. I lived in and was married in Jacksonville, and my wife is from Jacksonville, so I appreciate the Leonard Skinner. I mean, we got somebody together, right?
That's it. That's it.
Well, Barry, I know you are a veteran of the marine industry. Everybody knows you. You spent 30 years or more in this business and leading brands like Sea Ray and Regal. You've been with Azimuth, Hatteras, but I know you've accounted for about, I don't know, $500 million in boat sales. So, I mean, when you look at the fleet right now, most of the boats that are in the water had your name on it in some capacity. So after a pretty powerful stint at all these manufacturing companies, what brought you to Freedom Boat Club?
Wow, I didn't know anybody was counting, but that sounds impressive. It's an interesting path that got me here. Earlier in my career, I was managing international dealer distribution for a few of the Brunswick brands, and I really needed a change from all the traveling. I wanted to spend more time at home and with my daughters, so I decided to pursue the entrepreneurial path, but wanted to stay involved in boating personally. So we looked at buying our own boat, but you know, I didn't have time for all the things associated with ownership. And this little company called Freedom Boat Club had just opened on a nearby lake. So I went and talked to the salesperson, right? And after I heard the sales pitch, you know, I asked the question like, so what's the catch? The concept made so much sense. We joined the club. We're members for several years. Fast forward, I was back in the boating business working for a manufacturer who had some boats that were, you know, very well suited for the club, and I kind of took it upon myself to lead the effort to get those models tweaked really nicely so they'd work for Freedom. I attended a couple of Freedom franchise conferences. I was already sold on the concept, obviously, but was really impressed with John and the team that he had assembled and the trajectory of the company. So John and I were talking one day, and there was a good fit with my skill sets and experience. And here I am almost 4 years later. Interestingly, I'm back now working for Brunswick, of course, which is awesome. I love the company, and they're well positioned to continue what John started. And really, there's no limit on where Freedom can go, I think, at this point.
So, you know, Barry, you've grown up in the Freedom Fleet with a few thousand boats right now. We've got deck boats and pontoons, center consoles, 245 plus locations. You know, when you're talking to the franchise owners, how do you help guide them for their ideal fleet location, what boats they need, where they need to go, and how do they start a successful business?
That's a great question. But I do want to say, first of all, it's not just me growing this fleet. It's an amazingly talented group of Freedom franchisees, a team of sales execs. It takes operations people, maintenance, all the other positions to run a successful enterprise and grow the business. And obviously, when we get new members, we need new boats. So, but yeah, each club has some unique geographical differences, regional drivers, kind of, if you call them, to help determine the type of fleets they buy, boats they buy. Probably the most popular boat we have in the fleet is a pontoon boat. It's you see it in most clubs. It's a great people mover, easy to customize for salt or freshwater use. Deck boats are similar in that way as well. But we have some unique regional differences here in Southwest Florida. For instance, a lot of people want to go fishing, like in many coastal markets. And we have a lot of center consoles. We have shallow water here, so flats, boats, and skiffs work well. You might not find those on the lakes, but there you might find a higher percentage of runabouts and ski boats, tow boats, boats that are built for water sports. And then in the Pacific Northwest and Northeast, and some in the Great Lakes even, where you have colder climates, you'll find boats with small cabins forward, pilot houses, if you will. It gets people in out of the weather, and it can extend the season a little bit. We're also frequently trying new and different kinds of boats. So we're in the early phases of testing member acceptance of hard bottom inflatables. Some people call them ribs. It's the boat with the tubes, inflatable tubes around it. So far, the members really like them. They're very forgiving around the dock, obviously. You run them up on the beach, they're easy to get in and out of. So, we're always trying to see what our members like. Some of our franchisees will survey the members to ask them what they like. So we're gauging the pulse of our members. And of course, then we work with the manufacturers to tweak those boats a bit so they're appropriate for club use.
That's great. I mean, you are the perfect advocate for the boating industry and certainly for the fleet. I know that over the past year, we've seen some Sea Rays, some Boston Whalers, some Bayliners, a lot of Mercury engines, which we hadn't seen in the past, which is great. What is the one thing, the common denominator, if you will, that you're looking for in trying to get the right boats in for the members all across for 2021?
Well, they've got to be reliable. We want a boat, an engine that's reliable. The engine is the component with all the moving parts, right? And we put a lot of hours on these engines, so we have to have a dependable power option. And Mercury is our FBC power of choice. We're so glad to have access to Mercury now as part of Brunswick, and it's proving to be a terrific option in addition to the fleet. It's a great engine. Great warranties. The members really love them. Beyond the engines, we want the boats to be built to be very robust. They're solid. They're reliable. We want to have enough equipment to make the boat functional and enjoyable, but really not so much that there are things that might break or be down and cause our members to be frustrated with it. So we're always trying to find that balance, having the right equipment so that it gives our members an enjoyable day on the water. I guess lastly, there's certain things we put on the boats that members might not even know about. And a great example of that is we run a lot of fuel through these boats, as you might expect. So we've learned we need a much larger fuel filtration system just so that we don't encounter any fuel issues that might cause the boat to stall out. So we have many things like that are kind of behind the scenes and members don't even know about, but they're intended to make sure that they have an enjoyable day on the water.
No, that's great, Barry. It's with 245 plus locations. I know you've visited many of them and you've been on some of the great waterways. So, as we think about, what are some of those hidden gems out in the world, and we have that Ultimate Freedom Travel Pass, what are a couple of the really special places that you've been to with Freedom?
Well, I'd say a lot of the places, it depends on what you're wanting to do, Lee. I've had some great opportunities to boat in a lot of places, but it depends on whether you want to go cruising, wakeboarding, offshore fishing. And that's what's great about the club is because most locations have a boat that's built for each of these missions. So you really can do it all. As you mentioned, I've been on the East Coast, the Chesapeake, a lot of our inland lakes, Canada, even over in France. They all have something unique and awesome to offer, I think. But if I had to pick a personal favorite, I'd probably say it's the Florida Keys. I love the color of the water, the shallows, the reefs, the fishing, the diving. I also have a real soft spot for the North and South Carolina coast. That's where I grew up and I cut my teeth in boating, really. Fishing and diving the Atlantic is pretty special. But it's hard to pick just one. I would say my advice to the members is go out and try all 246 clubs, I think, as of this morning, because they may have a different favorite.
So Barry is the largest boat club in the world. Freedom has certainly become the #1 social club for boaters, and one of the favorite pastimes of our members has to be fishing. And I recently heard that you love to fish as well, and fell in love with fishing as a 9-year-old when your dad asked you to play hooky from school for the first time to go fishing. I took my son and my daughter out on the water. We just got a Sea Ray. I'm trying to get them both involved as well. We've gone a couple times, as John Giglio puts it. We've been doing quite a bit of fishing, but not much catching. I feel the same way. I've got a time span of about 5 minutes before my son and daughter get a little bit bored. But any advice for a son and daughter, or a father, son, and daughter fishing outing?
Yeah, it's funny you referenced that trip. I probably haven't thanked my dad enough for that. It really started a love affair for me with boats and the ocean and fishing. It's become a real part of me. People ask me, how do you work with boats all week and then still want to be around them on the weekend when you're not working? But I think it's a blessing to be in an industry and a profession where it really is one of my passions as well. But yeah, looking back on that trip, it was something that really, I was actually seasick for most of the day. That's part of the story I don't tell to many people, but even then the people were so kind. We caught a lot of fish. It was a big 65-foot, fishing boat, the beautiful day out of Carolina Beach, North Carolina. And it made an impression on me. And you got a chance to do the same with your kids, Lee. Get some local advice from the folks there, kind of where to go. What to fish for. There's always fishermen who are willing to tell you, how to do things. That's one thing there's a shortage of. And then, I'd say just don't overthink it. Learn a few simple knots, get some good basic equipment, and most importantly, have fun with it. Make it an adventure. That's what I remember about that day with my dad. And remember that a bad day fishing still beats a good day at the office anytime, right? And if you're with your kids, it's that much better. So, just have some fun with it, and they will always remember it, I assure you.
No, and we need to do that, because as I look outside, it's 25 degrees, the wind's blowing about 40 miles an hour. It's not the ideal fishing weather here. So I've got that in the back of my head. That's kind of in my mind where we are right now. So, Barry, I know you're passionate about Freedom Boat Club, but if you could sum it up into one word, what does Freedom Boat Club mean to you?
Oh, wow. Just one. I would say it's probably the word memories, because we have so many fond memories that are made through boats and boating on the water. I remember watching my kids learn to tie knots when the rope was as big as their hand, and then later tubing, and watching them get up on a wakeboard, learning to snorkel, because that's what it's about, right? Nobody can take those memories away from you. So it's a new day on the water, new adventure, so just getting out there with the ones you love and making memories. That's what we make possible here at Freedom. And we got an amazing team and a great fleet of boats to give our members a platform to do that on. So, yeah, I'd say that's probably a good word, memories.
That's great. Well, Barry, my shirt twin, if you remember the old Friends episode with the hand twin, I think we've got something going here on the Freedom Boat Club side. I can't thank you enough for joining us here in our Freedom Social Watch Party Wednesday, and really for building our incredible Freedom fleet that's allowed Freedom Boat Club to become the #1 boat club in the world. And as always, members, thank you for joining us here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time for our Freedom Social Watch Party Wednesday.